Okay, so this is the How to Get Better at Enrolling New Clients webinar. This is based on quite a lot of experience. I think I started coaching in around 93, 94 when I was in the corporate world, and I had a team and I wanted to get them to perform to the max. And after some period of time, I think that was 94, around 2000, I formed a training business, an NLP training business. I trained around 150 practitioners. And then in 2016, I started a digital marketing agency where we do marketing consulting and implementation strategy for small businesses. Our strapline is small business marketing with guaranteed results. So if you're a trainer, a coach, or a consultant, and also to some extent a tech business, you're absolutely in the right place. And we're going to share the lessons learned from 20 odd, whatever, however many, too many years to count, 29 years, probably 30 years of experience. So I hope you're up for that. I hope this is going to deliver what you want. I'm sure it will. We've always had positive feedback up until now. So March 2016 is when I started Digital Freelance. And in June 2016, the first member of our team, Connie, joined us. Connie's also on the webinar, so I'm going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself now.
Thank you, Graham, and welcome everyone. We really hope you enjoy the webinar. As Graham was saying, I've been working at Digital Freelance for 5.5 years. I'm the project manager, and I'm involved also in strategy. And yeah, we really hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, Connie. So 2 years later, June 2018, the next member of our team joined us. That's Ruben. He's also on the call. He is going to be monitoring the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat. It's also possible to get a copy of the slides. So if you want a copy of the slides, just type slides, please, into the chat box. There will be Q&A at the end, but before we get into that, I'm going to Ruben's going to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well this afternoon, and I hope you find what you're looking for here. As Graham said, I joined Digital Freelance in 2018 when I started as an apprentice, and I've stayed on since I finished that apprenticeship in early 2020. And as Graham said, I'll be monitoring the chat, so please feel free to ask any questions. I'll try and answer it myself, but if I can't, I'll get Graham to come back to it at the end. I hope you all have a good time. Thank you.
Brilliant. So now you've met the whole team. So now let's welcome you formally to this webinar and let's hear a little bit about you. So if you could introduce yourself in the chat, just say who you are, what you do, and what you want to learn from this webinar. That will help me to tailor the presentation and the examples to what you want to learn. So feel free to type away now. We'll just give a few moments for you to do that. And then Ruben will read out what he sees, and then we'll proceed with getting to the webinar itself.
Oh, Roy says hi. How are you doing, Roy? Hope you have a good afternoon. Matt says he's a performance coach for creative professionals and cultural leaders.
Oh, brilliant.
And Darren says he runs a consulting business, Lockdown Risk, providing advice to businesses on financial crime, anti-money laundering, and data protection.
Oh, brilliant.
Roy says that he's at Off the Fence Trust, a homeless and social uplift charity in Brighton and Hove.
Oh, brilliant.
Sarah says hi. She's also from Off the Fence with Roy.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Roy. Hi, Darren.
Samir is an accountant who wants to start attracting new clients and start a business.
Hi, Samir.
And Michael says he's a growth officer at Atomize, a hotel tech company.
Hi, Michael. Brilliant. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing what you're looking for, and I will aim to deliver on your expectations. So without further ado, let's get into the webinar itself. So these are observations that I made from running my own coaching and training business, and also from running an agency helping trainers, coaches, consultants, and tech businesses. And these are three things that really stand out. Is that the first thing that most of you, if not all of you, are great at achieving results for your clients, but struggle sometimes to acquire new clients. Feel more confident when delivering programs than when enrolling into them. And even though you're highly qualified and skilled at delivering results, sometimes you don't want to be seen as too pushy or salesy, so you kind of hold back. So you kind of save your skills when you're delivering your program. I don't recommend that. It's better to use your skills from the beginning. So the proposition, even from the enrollment process, so the proposition that we're going to explore today is what if you could use your professional skills more effectively in the context of enrolling people so you can create more impact and more value. I hope that resonates with you. So let's go forward into the agenda. So we're going to cover three things. The first thing is framing, how to frame an enrollment conversation and know you've helped your prospective client to make a good decision, even if it's not to buy your service. Most trainers, coaches, and consultants are naturally people helpers. So you devote a lot of your time to helping and serving others. The step two is to know you've helped your new client during the conversation to enroll him or her into your coaching, training, or consulting program, as much as when you're actually delivering the program. This is a key change so that you start using all your people helping skills even during the enrollment process. And then finally, we're going to reveal a step-by-step process, professional process, to sign up new coaching, training, or consulting clients without being pushy or salesy. This is extremely well tested. We use it in our own business every day, and we also use this to design sales processes for all of our clients. So there's some really good stuff coming up. We got great feedback when we run the webinar before. So you're definitely in the right place. I hope you're going to really enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get into step one, how to frame an enrollment conversation to help your prospective client make a good decision. So this is key. This is the very start of the process. And I'll just move these out of the way so I can see what I'm talking about. So before the session, you need to do a little bit of work to be really clear on your solution frame and consider carefully what problems you can solve and what goals you can help people achieve. It's really important to be as specific and clear as you can be. I highly recommend starting with a very focused approach and not going, oh, I can help anyone with everything. I know when I ran my first NLP business, that we used to go around saying, we can do anything, it's amazing. And yeah, it was, but it didn't really resonate with anyone because it was too generic, if that makes sense. So for an opening frame, I normally start with how can I help? It's genuine, it's authentic. And typically the person who I'm speaking to will describe the problem they're experiencing and the goal they desire to achieve. Or if they don't, then I'll ask some more questions to get the information that I need in order to help them. And then finally, the closing frame, the best advice is be silent, wait for the response that you get and listen and observe carefully. Sometimes the response will come in words, other times it will come in non-verbal communication or body language, as it were. So that is step one. So step two, how to know that you're helping people in a conversation to enroll them in your program. And I found this quote from Seth Godin, one of my go-to guys for marketing, really, really insightful. And I'll read it out to you. He said, perhaps instead of talking about prospects and customers, we could call them your students instead. The benefit of having a student-mentor relationship with your prospective clients is you can learn from them as much as they can learn from you. And I highly recommend that you open a learning frame for yourself before you start the conversation. It's really effective, and it means that you're continually learning and growing and evolving and serving your clients even better. In that kind of relationship, then I strongly believe communication is only possible between equals. So that's the mindset that I have when I enter into these conversations. And you might just consider asking the questions, where these are the things that Seth Godin recommends. Where are your students? What will they benefit from learning? Are they open to being taught? What will they tell others? So in order to find out what will they benefit from learning or your guidance or expert advice, we use this process of finding the transformation. Most of you, I'm sure, are in transformational roles where you're helping people make either major change or more step-by-step incremental change. This applies to both of those scenarios. And what we found is that some, particularly coaches, are very, very adept at eliciting goals, what people want, where they want to get to. That works really well for long-term inspirational motivation, but it's not necessarily that good for getting people started. Other people, particularly tech businesses in particular, are very good at identifying the problem, but not quite so good at identifying the goal or the transformation. So this process that we're going to share with you, we call it the statement of value, will enable you to elicit the problem and the goal or the solution and identify the bridge between those two. And you can do this collaboratively with your prospective client. It's really, really effective to get your prospective client engaged in the process of enrollment and engaged in the process of solving their problem, which is the service that you're going to deliver. And after you've done this a few times, you start to see more consistent patterns, and you can create a process flow template to describe the transformation in a way that your client will understand. I know many coaches in particular are trained to do kind of open or discovery-based coaching, where they start with a very open frame and see where the conversation takes them. That can be useful in some contexts, but it's not that useful in an enrollment process. So an enrollment process, you want to go step by step to a decision. That's the basic structure of it. Excuse me, I'm going to go into that in a bit more detail when I show you the statement of value. So let's get into the statement of value method to identify the transformation you provide. This is a really powerful tool in terms of articulating really clearly the transformation that you offer in a way that your prospective client or student can really understand what you're saying. So we're going to do this in two steps. The first step is the theory. Second step is the practice. For the practice, I'm going to talk you through a real life example from one of our clients. I'll get to that in a moment. Before we do that, here is the statement of value. So you can see there's 2 columns, before and after, and then there's 5 rows down the side. Have, feel, average day, status, and good versus evil. And what you would do is find out what problem does your prospective client have before they engage with your services, and what solution do they have after they've engaged with your services. So that's the first step. Second step is what will they feel before they engage with your services, and what will they feel afterwards. All decisions are made emotionally. The brain works emotionally and then rationalizes afterwards, comes up with a rational reason. So the feeling is what you're aiming for always. Average day, you would look at what behaviors is the problem causing them to engage in before they engage in your services, and what are they doing to look for a solution, and what are they doing afterwards, or what are they doing with all the free time that they have once you've provided the transformation for them, and what results are they getting from every day from your transformational program. And then for status, we typically use an example of automobiles. So before we would have a Ford Fiesta, and afterwards a Rolls Royce, which is a good way of describing the metaphor. Other metaphors are of course available. Good versus evil, we don't use all that much. We prefer much more to work on unique selling proposition. Particularly for a service business, there is almost always something that makes you unique in the way that you deliver your service. So we focus on what's unique about you rather than how you position yourself against other providers of similar services. But to give you an example of this, good versus evil, Paul McKenna used this in his Weight Watching program. So before, evil was Weight Watchers, where the focus is on counting calories and public humiliations by public weighings every week or two. Good, he said, it's more of an inner game, and you start with your mindset. As I say, we don't use good versus evil very much. We tend to focus on the unique selling proposition, which I will get to later on in the presentation. So this is an actual example of a real life client, still a client today, Jeffrey Kiplinger from Cohere Business Strategies. He's based in Washington State in the US, and his program is called Expert to Entrepreneur. His target client is life science entrepreneurs who started a business, a contract services business predominantly, and they want to go from startup to scale up. That is very often a very attractive niche to aim for in the business world in particular. That transformation is very common, and you avoid the problem of startups who typically, unless they're very well funded, don't have the money, and the money runs out before the result comes in. Scale-ups are in a very different position. So he uses a model of 4 value signals, which are team, sales process, finance, and personal development of the leader. And these are the problems that we identified. We did this about a year ago, so maybe more than a year. So I would add quite a bit to this now, knowing what I now know about his business. But this is kind of the starting point. So before, life sciences entrepreneurs typically have lots of ideas and lots of energy, but very little time. They don't know what to do first. That is extremely common these days. There's so much information out there, so many options. What many businesses are looking for is a guide, or a transformational guide who can show them where to start and what to do next and what to do after that. Everything relies on the owner. There's no systems. They're feeling overwhelmed and frustrated. That's really important in designing the customer journey. And then they're reacting to whatever's put in front of them, basically. Afterwards, they've identified their problem with greater clarity, they have a clear sense of direction, sense it's achievable, and a clear path to get to the next level. That's really important in describing the transformation he offers. We'll give you a specific example of how to do that with another one of our clients later on in the presentation. They feel confident, happier. They're moving towards a goal set in stone, managing much better and delegating better. That's obviously the team element of it. Working less reactively, that's their personal development of the owner. Able to see return on efforts and closer to the goal they had originally intended. Business works as a system. That's the sales process and system part of his offering, and they'll see themselves as a successful entrepreneur. So that's the theory. That's the practice of the statement of value. It's a really, really useful tool to describe the transformation that you offer. So that was step 2, step 1 and step 2. Step 3 is the step-by-step process to sign up new coaching, training or consulting clients professionally. As I say, this is well proven. It's kind of evolved over the 5.5 years that we've been running the agency, and we've tested it in lots of scenarios, and it definitely works. So these are the steps. Start with the opening frame all the way through to the closing frame. It seems like it's a linear step-by-step process. In practice, the conversation kind of goes the way it goes. And as long as you have this kind of blueprint or framework, or you can make your own, this is kind of a generic one. You could describe your one in much more detail. Then you can always return back to an earlier point if your prospective client or student starts talking about one of the things that are later in the process. You can go back to an earlier stage or step. So it's not like you have to start at step 1 and go all the way through to step 11. It's that we typically take an hour for this. By the end of the hour, we'll have been through all the steps, and we'll get to the end point, which I'm going to show you when we get to the end of the step-by-step process. So step 1 is building rapport. We're English, so we normally start with how's the weather. That's my go-to kind of opening. But there may be things in the news, or there may be things if I've had a previous conversation with a person. We typically have an initial chat just to see if we can help, and then we go into a more in-depth what we call a strategy session. That's what I'm showing you the structure of now. This is, we actually charge for this because we found that's a more effective way to demonstrate the value that the strategy session delivers, because it gives them kind of a roadmap of their transformation. So in this context, the first step is to build rapport, make sure that you're in relationship with a person, get them to switch off their crocodile brain, which is the lower part of the brainstem. That's not a technical term. That's my metaphor. And then once they're nice and calm and relaxed, then you can ask the question. There is increasing evidence that when people think they're being sold to, it brings up their fight-flight response or their fight-flight-freeze response. So you want to go beyond that before you start to enroll the person in your program. So it's important. Literally, I always start. I would say nearly always start with how can I help, and then it's important to listen carefully. You can use a set of predefined questions to go through the process, or even more usefully, I found, is to have a template which you can put on the screen and then literally fill it in as you're going along, which creates a lot of engagement. The process, one question that came up is, how long does this process take? Typically takes about an hour. And if it can't, I would say if it can't, first of all, don't put a time limit on it the first time you do it. If it can't be done in an hour, then you can always split it into 2 sessions. I wouldn't recommend going longer than an hour because it's quite intense, so it's kind of a bit too much for people. So you build rapport, then ask how can I help, have a series of questions to expand the information that you're getting. So to improve, basically the goal of this is to identify people you can help and who will benefit from receiving your program of transformation. So step 2 is quantification, quantify the problem. So this could be either a tangible quantity. In business, it's often profit, revenue, cost of goods sold, those kind of very tangible, measurable things, or in a more of a leadership coaching or more soft skills, you might want to use scaling. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at interacting with your team, for example, or a time frame? What transformation do you want? How long do you want to allow to achieve the transformation? In some contexts, you may also want to use a questionnaire here, especially where you need to gather deeper information. But the most important thing is to document the number to give a baseline, the number to give a baseline for the transformation. So here we go, step 3, the same process, but quantifying the solution. So same rules apply, might be tangible quantity or a scale or a questionnaire or a time frame or something else if you've got a different measurement in your business. Then you want to document the number. The difference between step 2 and step 3 is the gap in which your solution will fit. So you'll be creating a bridge between step 2 and step 3 with your service or your offering. So step 4 is to describe the opportunity or offer. We highly recommend having a range of different offers with different benefits and price points, where you deliver more and more value for a higher price point. This avoids you getting into what's it called, horse trading over trying to reduce your price and things. If you have a range of different price points, you can say, okay, if you have that budget, then this is what you need. This is what you can, what we can deliver for that budget, if that makes sense. Much better to be upfront about the price point. Don't go into like discounting or if you can help it, because what tends to happen is you won't be receiving enough money to deliver the transformation that you promised, and so you get into a difficult situation where the client's not happy, you're not happy, no one's happy. It's not really a good way of proceeding. So yeah, be totally upfront about the price point. We literally send out a price list as soon as someone inquires, so they know what the price points are. Step 5 is describe clearly who the offer's for and who it's not for. This is often known as avatar or ideal client. And it's the more specific you can be about the people you can help, the better, because your case studies will then apply directly to the person that you are aiming to enroll, and they will be able to relate to it much better. This is not about you, this is about them and about them understanding. We found that by far the best way is to look at your existing client base a look at their behavior, what's called psychographics, and also their demographics. Where are they based? What kind of revenue do they have? What kind of headcount? Those kind of things. That means that then when you articulate your case studies, they'll apply more directly to your ideal client. That's not to say it's not a good idea to stretch. It is a good idea to stretch and to aim for slightly different clients to the ones you've got now, but you don't stretch too far into the realm of kind of what I call hope and a prayer marketing. It really doesn't work. So that's step 5. Step 6 is utilize your statement of value template to break down the transformation you provide into steps and help the client to complete the information. This is very collaborative, very engaging, so they'll be working with you to solve the problem, or to at least put the plan together to solve the problem. The statement of value is not the only thing that we do in our strategy session. We have 8 steps. This is one step in the strategy session. So that's step 6. Step 7 is, this is really important, is use the language of the person that you're speaking to. If you're going to use technical language, explain it ideally using metaphor or simple language so that the person can understand what the transformation is. We highly recommend using 2 case studies to do this, maybe even 2 or 3, in the form of stories, which are easy to understand for the person that you're enrolling. I've already talked about one case study, which is Jeffrey Kiplinger, Cohere Business Strategies. I'm going to talk about a second one as we go through the presentation. So step 8 is identify and handle objections. There are basically 4 objections. The first one is that the person is not interested in what the service that you provide. Not really very much you can do about that. If it doesn't solve their problem, they're not going to buy it, clearly. Second thing is they don't have the budget. That's why we recommend having different price points. And if their budget is 0, then clearly it's not a situation where you can help them. And some people do like, put the money in your credit card and I'll fix the problem before you have to pay the bill. Really don't do that. It's really not a good strategy. So the third objection is, I don't believe it will work. That's what the case studies are for, to prove that it works. And the fourth one is they don't believe it will work for them, which is the whole purpose of the enrollment process, to go through step by step how it will work for them. We are, however, going to do a separate webinar on objections because it's kind of a whole field, a whole sort of separate subject. So step 9, articulate your USP. I mentioned at the beginning, ours is small business marketing with guaranteed results. We articulate that with an ROI guarantee, 4 times ROI in 4 to 6 months, or we'll keep working at no additional cost until you achieve it. That is really simple to understand. People get it. When we have a physical office. When we first put that over the door, we had loads of people knocking up the door saying, "Oh, that's really interesting. Tell me more." So it's definitely worth articulating your USP. It does take time and effort, but it's definitely worth the effort. It's not something that comes instantly for most businesses. It needs a bit of thought. Small business marketing with guaranteed results came to me in a dream. But after having thought about it for quite a long time. Step 10 is to outline the plan to your prospective client to help them achieve their goal that they desire, solve the problem, feel better. That's the emotional bit, the feeling, and be perceived as to who they want to be perceived and become who they want to become within a clear time frame. So this is addressing all the four main points in the statement of value. I'm going to now show you a specific example of how we did this in collaboration with one of our clients, Vivian Blade in Kentucky. Vivian is a transformational coach who specializes in leadership, and particularly in helping minorities like women, and also minorities within the category of women to break through the glass ceiling and get to the level in the organization that they deserve to be in based on their skills and competence. Typically, they tend to underachieve compared to, dare I say it, white males. Obviously, being a white male, I suppose I can't say that. So this is the process that she uses. Phase 1 is the what she calls discovery. This is classic coaching stuff. So this is like understanding yourself, getting rid of negative self-talk and toxic relationships, changing beliefs. So she has phase 1, 2 sessions to do that. And the next step is what she calls 90-day plan refinement, which is strategy and practice. These are sessions 3 and 4. This is where she gets them to visualize where they want to be in a senior level executive position. How will they feel? How do they break through the unwritten rules that create a glass ceiling? And 90 days is quite a good planning period for coaching, consulting, training engagements. We use 120 days in our model, but we started at 90 and then realized 120 worked better for our business. But 90 days is a great place to start because people can see that open-ended commitments are never a good thing. It's like 90 or 120 days is a good starting point for many businesses. So phase 3 is the achievement and measuring success bit, where she holds them accountable, measures how they're doing against the plan, gives them feedback, strategizes on situations, and holds them accountable, and also celebrates when they're successful. Really, really important. That's sessions 5 and 6. And then right at the end is kind of the wrap up. She calls it ongoing achievement, session 7. This is where at the end of the 90-day period, she'll close it out and then talk about ongoing development goals, which may be an opportunity to help them further if there's more that they want to accomplish after that 90-day period. So that's Vivian Blade. That really worked for her. So now we're at step 11, which is closing frame. As I said, the most important thing is to wait for your prospective client to respond. Here's a few responses that we get. So the first one is, so what's the next step? That typically means they're ready to enroll. So then it's a matter of taking them into the actual enrollment process. We said our enrollment process is we'll send you a contract, we'll send you an invoice, and we'll send you an onboarding email to start your engagement with us. Another possible response is I'm talking to a few other people. We always send the result of the strategy session as a PDF a day or 2 later. So that means when they're evaluating your offer against others, they can be really clear what your offer is. We're all human beings, and people have inherent biases, like typically the last person that they spoke to will have more impact than the first one, if that makes sense. So it's really important to put it as a PDF. And that's also useful if they need to talk to a business partner or wife or significant other. They'll have a written document, nicely graphic design and everything, that they can show to their partner or significant other. Ideally, you would want to get them on this call so that they do it with them both together, or however many there are, but it's not always possible. The next thing is I'll have a few questions. You may answer those there and then if they're really simple, or set up another session to answer the questions. Or I don't know if I'll get the results. That typically means either the case studies weren't compelling enough, or you didn't articulate the statement of value clearly enough, or it's not for them, which is also possible, of course. And very few people, if any, get 100% enrollment. It's just not a thing. So now we're into kind of handling objections, which will be the subject of an upcoming webinar, as I said. So to finish the presentation, we're more than, if you want to have a chat about what you've heard on this presentation, we're more than happy to have a conversation. We do a free 20 minutes where we can just have a chat, answer your questions. If you can go away from there and implement this for yourself, there'll be no one happier than me. If you need our help in a strategy session, as I mentioned, we're also happy to do that as well. Here's the link to the landing page. Ruben will put that into the chat box so that you can sign up to have a chat if you want to. So I'm going to end with a question. Are you ready to design your enrollment process?